Well, guys, what can I tell you? I'm actually a little bit sad that the Camino Portuguese has now come to an end for me. I guess when I was choosing my next Camino, I knew that I couldn't go on a Camino that is as long as the Camino Francis, which for me was 41 days. So Camino Portuguese presented an opportunity. And the reason why I chose it too is because I knew that I also wanted to tack on an extra 4 or 5 days to go to do the Camino Finisterre. Um, it's been a wonderful journey, and it is always a journey. It's I'm surprised how pretty it is, and you know, while it is not as epic as say the Camino Francis, it provided a chance for us to really connect back with nature because there were some really beautiful parts of the Camino Portuguese. I remember going just throughout the especially the central route. I really appreciated it. Some of you asked me what was going on in terms of the political turbulence on the Camino Portuguese. What I can share with you is that in my group there were a couple of individuals who political affiliation or viewpoints didn't quite align with each other. Of course, it's about the US state of politics, and I think there were a couple of misunderstandings too. But if you can just imagine, like first day in when the group all got together, two parties, two people got on the wrong side of each other in terms of the political beliefs, and that led to all kinds of awkwardness. So I found myself having to jump between one party to another throughout the past several days just to keep the peace, because at the end of the day, when you do the Camino Portuguese, the stages are quite long. They're around about 30 kilometers, sometimes they're 25 kilometers, and sometimes they're 22. But at the end of the day, when you've got a group of 6 or 7 people, you're going to land in the same town, and so you really can't have two people just ignoring each other. But I guess there were cases of that, and there were cases of just a lot of just back chatter, and that just wasn't very conducive to the whole Camino spirit. So that was super awkward. So I guess my advice on bringing people together, although I thought that this was pretty well done, is just to basically warn people to just not talk politics. You can have a disagreement, and I think a sign of an intelligent person really is somebody who can hold two ideas and be okay with it, and not all of us live in the US, not all of us, you know, yeah, so just I don't know, just leave politics off the Camino would be ideal. A couple of other viewers have asked me about the sort of the albergues along the way. So my accommodation mix was very much a mix of private accommodation as well as albergues. I actually quite like albergues because it gives me a chance to sort of connect with other pilgrims, not very deeply because I had my own sort of little group, but you can say hello and you can sort of hear the different accents in the dorms, which is quite nice. The beds are like the Camino Francis, they're about 15 euros. Some albergues are better than the other. I believe on the whole, the standard of my albergues that I've picked were really good. So if you're interested, I can definitely post what they are. But if you follow my journey, you would probably know, because I actually do make an effort of showing what the albergue that we stayed in were. Sorry. I will say that because I got sick on the Camino Portuguese, that it was really hard to find a pharmacy in a couple of towns, and when you find the pharmacy, it was hard to converse with them. They don't all sort of speak as much English as the Camino Francis pharmacy, so that's an interesting note. Somebody asked what were the village shops, what were the typical items that they actually had in the shops. They will always have some soft drinks. Might have a couple of bottles of wine. On the whole, it was quite hit and miss. There were some shops that basically held everything if you were lucky enough to go into one of these big superstore in the main towns. But in the smaller towns, you might get baguette or bread or some jamon, some cheese. In terms of like the sort of the hardware stuff, you might get you might get some shoe soles, or maybe you might get some glue, or you might get some stationery, a bit of sort of bricks and bracks, but on the whole, it's just not something that you want to walk into, to be honest, because there's not much to explore unless you're in the big town. I think I mentioned how the Australian dollar performed throughout the Camino Portuguese. Unfortunately, the Australian dollar is not doing very well at all against the euros. I think if you were to basically have to get 59 euros, you have to pay 100 Australian dollars. So every $100, you get 59 euros. So that's not very good, is it? I don't think As so. For the food on the Camino Portuguese, I would say that on the whole, they were quite good. There were a lot more seafood. There was no meal that I had that I was completely impressed with, but I will say that the Camino Francis probably had better in terms of like better value for money. I think they're just better set up to cater for the pilgrims. Of course, there's always potatoes in every dish, or rice, and the alcohol weren't as cheap, I found, as they were on the Camino Francis. Coffee continues to be a problem for me, but that's because I have an extra critical taste buds, I guess, because Melbourne, where I'm from, is very, very famous for its coffee. And I think there needs to be an intervention with the Spanish people and the Portuguese on how to actually prepare a good cup of coffee. Look, you're going to get something warm, but it's just, I don't know, it's the milk or whether it's like the coffee being sourced. You can't get the aroma out of it. And a lot of the time, for me, it tasted a little bit bland. One of the best things I found on the Camino Portuguese was just basically being along the path and having the Pope elected. I mean, there was certainly a lot of elation. I know that they swung the Bofovarum, I can't say that word, but they swung the big ball of incense on the day that the Pope was elected. And of course, as I mentioned, there were a lot of bells that were ringing out throughout the whole church, which was really welcoming. Hello there. Hi. The Portuguese churches were shut, and I asked a local this, and he said that if they have to lock up the church because people go in and steal the gold. Look at this cat. Aww. Ooh. Don't bite, okay? I'm gonna rub you, but I think out of the 15 days or so, I went into about only 3 churches that were kind of there and open. The Spanish churches tend to be open a lot more. I suppose in the smaller villages, they have to shut them, but it seems a bit sad. Santiago is still amazing. It's just so lovely, that town. I'm still in awe of the buildings surrounding it, the cathedral and the building behind it. It's just such a beautiful town, and there's still so much to explore. Try and go to the tapas bars that's not so much in the tourist focus area, because you're going to be paying a bit more. Well, guys, we'll just pick up this little summary of the Camino Portuguese in the lounge at Changi Airport in Singapore, where I'm transiting to wait for my flight to Melbourne. A couple of other issues that might be of interest, not issues really, but if you are going to be leaving an albergue or wherever you are early to make an early start for the walk, just remember that there's nothing that's open until 8 a.m. So if you start, say, 6 o'clock, it might be 2 hours before you're able to get your first coffee. Bars don't typically open until 8. Sometimes you might find them a bit earlier, but generally you'll be walking for a few hours. Often we find ourselves smashing about 10 Ks before we have our first coffee. Then there's the issue of bed bugs. I didn't find any bed bugs on this trip. None of my friends encountered bed bugs. Generally, the Camino Portuguese is pretty well cleaned, and it's quite hygienic. The good thing is that if you can get in early, you can get first dib at the showers. I think the showers can be a little bit manky after a few people have been in it, but sometimes they do leave mobs so that you are going to be the first in the shower. After you use the shower, just sweep away the water and make it nicer for somebody that's coming in after you. Not everyone does that, of course, and so therefore you might be experiencing something that's less than ideal, but warm water in the day. I've got a friend who's very naughty. he would bring a bungee tie and he would tie it to the shower so that they don't, stopping and starting. Because, to save water, all the albergues have actually put in a time limit, like a minute before the water cuts off. Instead of keep pressing the water to complete your shower. But one of my Camino friends decided to have a little bungee tie. I think he was joking, but anyways, I'm not going to encourage it. I think it's just something that somebody can be very particular about, is to have a flow that is consistent, but I'm not too concerned about that. And saving water is probably a good idea. In terms of laundry, it's about €4 for a wash, and they generally allow you to pull together with your other friends and have a bag, a medium-sized bag that they would then wash, and then it's €4 to dry. So if you can sort of handle wearing clothes for a couple of days instead of washing every day, if you've got a couple of spares, then you can actually do laundry for them. Some albergues actually have it for free. It's 4 to wash and then 4 to dry if you don't want to dry on the line. But if you pull together, it could be quite economical. In terms of food, just be prepared. There's a lot of carbs. You probably will get protein. It's usually in the form of pork. On the Camino Portuguese, fish is often the other dish. I know that chicken and pork were very much prevalent in the Camino Frances. Camino Portuguese is kind of fish or pork, sometimes chicken. I haven't had a really, really bad meal, but there's a lot of carbs, and you would be very hard pressed to find vegetables unless you specifically order vegetables. I found that the Camino Pilgrims dinner wasn't readily available on the Camino Portuguese. You just have to hunt them down. Otherwise, it's just, go to the restaurant and order a la carte. The meals are around about €13 onwards, depending on the quality and sort of, the kind of things that they're offering and the scarcity of services in the area. The old age argument of poncho versus raincoat, for me, what I found worked is that I actually bought myself also a very light poncho, which means if I wanted to, I could do away with a rain cover for my backpack as well as rain pants. I only walk in shorts, so for me, if it's torrential rain, then I would put on the poncho over my raincoat. So therefore, that solves the problem of one or the other. Just bring both, but leave your rain pants at home and leave the rain cover for your backpack at home, getting rid of 2 items. In terms of bed sheets, sometimes you do have to buy bed sheets, and I would recommend it. It's probably usually like about €1 with one of those paper sheets. Sometimes you get like cotton sheets, which is a bit of a rarity depending on how much you pay. Speaking of which, albergues can start from from €9 if you're staying at a municipal one, which we did at 1 or 2 locations, and it can go up to something like €20 per person. That's for the private albergues. Yeah, you pay for what you get, I guess you can say. Water quality on the whole is pretty good. I found myself buying bottled water because, I don't know, I guess I didn't need to top up this much. I just buy a whole bottle for like €1 at a supermarket, and I fill my water bladder, and then I would put half into my water bottle and put in a hydrolytes. That's how I did it. But by all means, water from the tap is safe. That's what none of us had any issue, and many of us just chose that option. And water from fountains are generally safe too, but just make sure that it does read that it is safe to drink. Yeah, no issue at all on the waterfront. And 2 more things before I go, because I think my flight's going to be boarding soon back to Melbourne. Merino wool is still the go-to for Camino clothing. Merino wool, everything, light and layers. Okay, I think I would actually bring a merino wool long sleeve rather than my North Face fleece next time. So if you can invest, just go merino wool. I would recommend having cash on hand, because pulling out money from the ATM you're gonna be hit with fees. As an Australian traveling, we were really disappointed. Basically, we had everything that was in euro, we doubled in our own currency. So if it's €1, it's basically $2. In any case, the experience is worth going, I guess, and I hope the Australian dollars will get better, so I can keep walking European Caminos. And one more thing, the apps, in terms of the app that we use, I used to use the Green Camino, but I'm finding that the Wise Pilgrim is a much better app because it's got mapping Okay, so mapping on the go is really helpful. It's like your own little Google map, but it shows you where your location is, and the dot that follows you so that you know exactly where you are in relation to everything else. So the Wise Pilgrim is the app for me. I'm not too sure about the Buen Camino. The map didn't quite work, but it works in other areas too. Well, that's it. I'm just going to leave it right now. Thanks for following along. Well, I think that's pretty much all I have time for with this episode. I know that I am going to be presenting another series of a Camino, but I'm going to just take a little bit a break first because I want to get back to Australia before I post my Camino Finisterre. So stay on this channel and please subscribe and like just to help my algorithm, and I will be bringing you that series very, very soon, but might be like about a week from now when that episode will drop. Those episodes will drop. Well, finally, guys, I just want to say a big thank you to all of you for following on my journey. It's been such a pleasure having you along. And look, I have actually amassed a few more followers, so I just want to say thank you so much for giving me that sign of. It's not easy doing the Camino and vlogging at the same time. So I ask for your understanding that the videos might not be of the best quality, but at least it's something that can show you a little bit of what to be expected. I never claim to be a professional. I just want to showcase what it is about the Camino that I love so much. And so as I leave you here, I just want to wish you all a buen Camino, and to thank you once again for being on my channel, and that I hope that you found some joy or some laughs along the way, and thank you for your patience with me throughout it. All right, well, as for my next Camino, there will be one. I can't share that yet. Will Margaret attend? I'm not too sure. I can't tell you that yet, but don't worry. I'm not going to let you down. So if you stay on the channel, click the notification bell, you will find that I will be sharing some news in due course. Once again, thanks again for being here. I appreciate all of you. And yeah, if there's any questions, just put them down and I will try and answer them. That's it for now. Remember, the pilgrimage never really ends. I think, as a metaphor of life, you keep walking and you keep walking and you never give up, and you will get to where you want to be. Well, I hope that's the idea. Buen Camino, everybody. Sun is setting on my 52nd birthday. It's been an amazing year, of which I'm very grateful. The year where I went on the Camino Francis. Tomorrow is another day.